Welcome back, all you Point 3 people, to another episode of the Point. Your favorite trio of hosts, Lou, Hero Scroll, Spider Brando. Today, in this episode, we are talking about Invincible, Season 2, Episode 4, Part 1. The big review after our massive cliffhanger that we got in the last episode. We have to wait now. But that is why the Point 3 podcast is here, to give you what you need to know about the episode. We all watched it. Let's find out if we all loved it. But before we jump into that, follow us over on our social medias. Check out our Discord. We talk about this stuff all day, every day. Stay on point with Point 3. And join us for our next Discord community event. Do we have anything in the pipeline?
At the moment, no.
All right, I'm going to edit that part
But
out.
we could,
I was gonna say, I think it was being thrown around in there a Lord of the Rings movie night the other day.
oh,
I think it was being
I-
thrown around in there. I gotta double check, but I'm pretty sure it was.
I'd watch that. Okay, maybe we'll keep this. Well, listen, Invincible. We all watched it. Spider Brando. Love or hate? How'd you feel?
I did love the episode. It's getting the Chef Kiss certification. But what is not Chef Kiss certification is having to wait until freaking January or whenever in 2024 to see the second half of the season. After going 6 weeks straight with Loki, and I know, Lou, you had the week straight of Gen V also, so you're kind of on like a back-to-back-to-back show. And I wanted all 4 episodes. Just felt like a tease. But I'm excited for what we saw, and I'll just have to wait and just suck it up and wait like the 1 to 2 months or whatnot.
Is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing because patience is a virtue, but just with the amount of content we've been getting flooded with and how this season was shaping up, I want to just watch it all and consume it all right now, which is why I have the gripe with it, because who knows, in 2 months from now I might not be as interested or as hooked as I am now with timing wise or scheduling stuff. But so it's been just perfect for me right now to freaking have it go all through the end of the year and whatnot. But I understand what they do and why they do it, so
I'm with you. Here, scroll.
I don't love this episode, but I don't hate it either. I feel very meh about it. It's not to say, again, not to say it's a bad episode. There are a lot of good moments. Omni-Man, Mark, that relationship, the fight with the Viltrumites, all that is fantastic stuff that I've wanted to see for a minute. Again, this is based purely off of like show knowledge, so felt like at some point there was going to be a collision course, and then for them to be like, yeah, I like the fact that Omni-Man's like, yeah, we can train you, and then it's like, nope, no you can't. You gotta fight, and you gotta fight now. That was good stuff, but to me what really hurt this episode is the interjections in between all of the Omni-Man and Mark stuff. And I know that some of it is necessary, but I think like there's some pretty egregious stuff. The Mauler twin stuff, the clone stuff that they showed one scene of at the beginning, and then they show like a mid-credits at the end. I feel like you could have put that whole thing as the mid-credit, and I would have felt a lot better about it. The is it weird to say that I wanted something a little more for Debbie? I know that they made the ending kind of her like finally letting go of Omni-Man Nolan, but they kind of gave you more of the, you know, I'm sad, I'm angry. I just think it was because last episode was all of that, and I think it was fantastic. I think they should have given us something different. So, again, a meh episode with a lot of good things and a lot of bad things.
So this episode, on like a surface level, for me, I feel very similar to how you guys felt. When I did go back and I looked at it from an overall like whole season standpoint, what I like that they did in or episode 4 specifically, after having that massive cliffhanger, on that Thraxan planet, you really came face to face with what I think Invincible is great at and what makes the show very strong. And essentially, it's that weight that Mark and Omni-Man have when they're just standing across from each other. And it's a culmination of Omni-Man having that guilt, having that shame, Mark running through his emotions. You can see how vocal it was. And again, it's an animated series, but you really felt that coming off the screen. And I think what they've done so well is just shown you the impact of super beings and superheroes. And in a way, each instance of what we got just, I think, set up what's to come down the road. I think it was very necessary, but it was tough that it was all at once and that we do have to wait for it. And again, I think to both of your points, I want to see what comes next and I want to see it now. But I also wanted, if this entire episode was nothing but Mark and Omni-Man against the Viltrumites, I would have been fine. If I didn't see Debbie, if I didn't see the Maulers, if I didn't go through and see Donald and the whole thing with Eve and all of that stuff, they peppered it in and it was nice. But just on the heels of the last couple episodes that were really creative, especially with Alan and everything going on there, and then Mark doing his thing and finally maybe moving on. I don't know. It was interesting. And I think two things that I look forward to most now would be, one, how does Cecil use Debbie to ultimately stop the next Omni-Man or Mark when Mark comes back? Because remember, and again, slight spoiler warning, at the end of this specific episode, Omni-Man pretty much gets defeated. He's not killed, he's not dead, but he did get defeated because he didn't follow through and kill Lucan. And the guy came back and crushed his spine or whatever it was, however they phrased it in that. And Mark, of course, got beat to a pulp per the usual, which is kind of the frustrating piece in this show for me, where I'm like, dude, like, you gotta start smashing some people. And he did it underwater with Atlantis, but at this point, like, Omni-Man, one of my favorite things that Omni-Man said in this, and why I'm very interested, and I'll open this up to you guys. Omni-Man essentially tells Mark that he's holding back. It's kill or be killed. If you don't go through and have the intention to end your opponent, we're both going to die. So what are you going to do? It's a life or death scenario. And he's like, I don't kill people. I don't do that. Again, you have your dynamic of what does it mean to be a hero? Even though you're faced with the ultimate danger in the universe, Mark just doesn't get it yet. And what I want to see from Mark is really that true transformative event to where he gets that next step, where we look at the show and we're like, yo, Omni-Man is a compliment to Invincible. Very much how in My Hero Academia, Deku is the main character and All Might would be the side piece kind of thing, right? That's a flip of that dynamic. And Mark needs more experience. He does not have any mastery yet. He does not have enough experience. His battle IQ is terrible. His strategy and his ability to form something, terrible. He just doesn't have that. Again, giving my hero reference, at least it's something that Deku had. He always had that battle IQ of being like, this is what I have, this is how we can win. Mark just tries to bully people but gets bullied. So I'm really, 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 really excited to see how he handles the mission that was handed down to him by General Krieg, which is finish Omni-Man's mission, conquer Earth, prepare for our arrival, and if you don't do what it is that I'm expecting you to do, I'm going to end everyone, and we will have Earth one way or another. And oh, by the way, we're going to check in to make sure that you're making progress. And if you don't, massive consequences. That to me, like, this episode on the surface is tough, but when you look into all this, they're doing it better than anybody's doing it right now, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. For sure. The relationships is what carries it. And that's why I said the best part of this is the Mark and Omni-Man relationship. And it really feels like they're trying to sandwich the seasons with that, with Mark ultimately taking a life out of pure necessity. Where in the first episode, the very first way it starts off is Mark killing people because he's not hesitating. To me, it's kind of the theme of Mark has it in him. And if you notice in the fight with I forgot the Viltrumite's name that he fought.
Lucan, the first one, or the girl?
The girl.
I forget her name.
Anyways,
but
when he's fighting with her, after Omni-Man gives him that, like, hey, you need to stop because they are trying to kill you. They're not trying to beat you. They're trying to murder you. He basically, I mean, he's on her level, if not beats her. And really, the downfall is the hesitation. In the brief moment that he hesitates, that's when she stabs him.
Yes.
And I think at the end of the season, they're going to give you him not hesitating anymore. Something's gonna break. I have the feeling it's gonna be on the Viltrumite General Krieg. I think maybe he'll come back to Earth and they're gonna fight, and I think he's not gonna hesitate at that point with him out of pure necessity again. Bringing that story full circle where you see what he's capable of and you see why he holds back. And again, hinting at that dynamic between Omni-Man and Mark. Mark has had the positive effect of showing him why he needs to be good, right? And it took him a while to see it. It took him to do something, like he said, unforgivable in the battle of Chicago. But now you look at him when he's here on planet Thraxis with the Thraxans, it's a different man. And the scene where he grabs Mark by the neck and he's like, why do I care about them? He doesn't understand why, because he's lived so long without that feeling. And now he's like, what? I don't understand. And he's looking at the cause of it. It's his son. And I think the reverse is going to be where now, Omni-Man is teaching him in a, I wouldn't say positive way, but in the sense that he's not going to keep getting beat down.
Yeah.
And he's not going to understand why he just did what he did.
For all my vampire fans out there, it is like, it's a humanity thing. The more I suppress my humanity, the more like a Viltrumite I can be and the stronger I can get. Where on the flip side, you have Omni-Man who he's getting weaker. And again, Omni-Man at the end of this, because he is embracing more of that humanity and those feelings and the shame and the guilt and all those things, it potentially, so they say, is going to cost him his life, because now they're going to execute him after they've captured him. Not only did he not finish his mission on Earth, but he created offspring that is deemed unacceptable by Viltrumite standards. So I ask you guys this from a next step standpoint. There's one thing that Omni-Man said to Mark, and it was, read my books, Mark. And we saw Debbie moving out, and on the curb she left a box, and inside the box was a book that Nolan wrote. And essentially what we see is the Man with the Invincible Gun title on the cover. What do you guys think is to come next? And again, for everyone watching and listening, we don't know. We haven't read. We don't research. We're taking this as it comes to us. But Spider Brando, what do you think kind of is the next step? Does this have anything to do with it? What are some early theories?
You said it was called The Man That Has the Invincible Gun.
Man with the Invincible Gun.
I like that.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a symbolism of Omni-Man kind of raising Mark as his protege, or just just knowing Mark's potential.
Ooh.
How much gun he could be. Like that play. But yeah, I'm hoping Mark finds that book, and I feel like that was very key component in their dialogue to he has to have some like form of notes to help him out with his powers and training and stuff in there. And I think maybe that could have been just like his little journal that he's been writing all his life of his own powers and how to help out someone. That could be something that Debbie like got him into, expressing emotions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah. Hero, you got a theory on it?
I almost feel like it'll be a training manual of sorts, like Spider Brando said, where it'll be maybe Viltrumite ways, maybe even like coordinates to Viltrum, because I don't think Mark knows where it is so far.
Bro,
So
they've made it very apparent he doesn't know where he's going in space.
So it could be a way to find him and save him, and then they hatch a rescue plan for Omni-Man. So yeah, I think that's where it's going with it.
It's much needed. He needs that training that was teased at the beginning of this. Like, he needs to take his next steps. I want to see how there's got to be someone out here who Omni-Man has befriended, who almost, are thinking of God, his name escapes me. Aquaman, the guy who trains him from Atlantis. The hell's his name? I keep saying Mordo in my head, and it's not right.
Well, Willem Dafoe's character, though.
Not Vulcan. Volko?
Volko? I think so.
Anyways, like that kind of guy of like very similar to the guy who made the suits for them. The super suits. Someone who knows Omni-Man, but who can help Mark. Maybe not someone on Earth, but someone, who at least Invincible couldn't kill, type of thing, or someone that he respects, who, has went toe to toe. Someone, there's got to be someone out here. I'm just very curious. I know someone had said General Krieg is going to send someone down. I wonder if there's going to be like an initial person that gets sent, a Viltrumite that gets sent to check on him. And that's who he ultimately like maybe flips, who comes to his side, teaches him the ways, and then they ultimately get, killed and removed. Who, could be kind of that new pseudo mentor for him. Last thing I want to throw out here. Do you guys have any interest in the Eve storyline of, with her dad and the superpowers, and really like, just because you have powers doesn't make you a hero, like you're actually worse than worse? Or Donald trying to figure out who he is or what he is?
Eve one. I want to, during this break, I am determined to watch the Adam Eve special. 100%.
I'm more interested in Bobby Hill figuring out if he's a robot. I'll be honest, that the Eve thing has cooled off significantly just because she's barely gotten any screen time, so she doesn't feel as big of a deal that she should feel. So yeah, 10 for Bobby Hill, please.
I will be very curious to see if it turns out that our multiversal big head is right, and Mark does become, the person that they all have to stop, and everyone's on the path to stop Mark. Eve, Guardians of the Globe, Cecil, Debbie, there's some, like, even his best friend, like, all of these people ultimately have to find a way to come together to stop Invincible or a Viltrumite invasion, and they're all prepping for that via Mark, because I think it's coming. It's just a matter of what happens when they show up. And shout out to my guy Nick Fury. You got to have some sort of initiatives in place to protect. You can't always trust a guy who's just going to fly off planet with some random aliens, and then you're left defenseless. So
yeah, Captain Marvel.
I will throw this out there though. Just one last thing. I do think that Cecil is gearing up for a heel turn. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by it, because I think the Donald storyline is kind of hinting at that aspect of it. And Debbie felt intentional where she's like, along the lines of, we don't get something without giving up something to you. And then he didn't really answer that. He was just like, oh, if you know, okay, if you really want, and then just left. So I foresee a Cecil heel turn.
Yeah. It's just, he's interesting. Someone who was kind of on the radar in the beginning, but again, I understand why now the previews that came out for this show was like, it's just scratching the surface and it really didn't dive too deep. I was just like, man, y'all are just being some haters. But I'm like, they might have been right.
Yeah.
They might have been right. Well, that's all I got. Do we give a quick grade? Some stars out of 5? I don't know.
For the season so far or just the episode?
Episode and season.
Episode 3, season 4.
Episode 3, season 4.
I'm going episode 4, season 4.25.
All right, good luck putting that up. You're gonna be on Canva all night. Be like, how do I shade in this one corner?
No, it's actually not bad. They have
really?
like an element that you could like crop it to be
Wow.
yeah.
Well, I'm gonna make it easy.
Found
4 and 4.
These other ones are so hard, but I found good stars.
Well, no one can take him. You're listening. You can't have him. You can't have him. You can't have him. Well, everyone, we appreciate you watching and listening to this episode of the Point 3 podcast. If you watched Invincible at any point in this season, drop a comment on YouTube. Give this episode a grade out of 5. What did you think? We'll try and feature you on our next video when we talk about Invincible. But again, we want to hear from you. So jump on our social media channels at the Point 3 Podcasts and join us this Wednesday, 9:05 Eastern, for our Wednesday YouTube live stream where we're talking about the latest super news, rumors, massive this week if you're an MCU fan, and some reviews of things that have come out recently. But until then, everyone, keep watching, keep reading, and keep nerding out.